In a comment on the previous video, Justin FH 2.0 asked me how I feel about clubbing seals as opposed to just plain hunting them. I was instructed to take a look at a video, and I've posted a link to it up here on the right, and told to be honest in my response. The 500 character limit on comments is sometimes a bit too much of a constraint, so what I thought I'd do is provide a video response so I can provide a bit more detail. So I watched the video. Heather Mills is probably not the best place to start. If she told you that the grass was green, you'd have to check. She starts off by saying that since she herself has a baby, she knows how awful it would be to have it taken away. And in that one sentence, she provides a great example of the anthropomorphic projection that Sarah Hon 6 and I have been mentioning in earlier videos. In reality, it's not at all uncommon for animals like seals to reject their newborn young, and this will certainly result in a horrible death for the rejected offspring through a combination of starvation, exposure and predation. It is, however, extremely unusual for human beings to reject their newborns. And even where such a thing happens, there's usually another human being who is willing to step in and take care of the child. So I think that comparisons in behaviour and emotional impact are not consistent with the observed evidence. I think there are three main factors that concern me most about the seal pup hunt. The first is that they are cutesy-wootsy, cuddly-wuddly, fluffy little animals with big, sad eyes. So basically, that's me being specious because of their aesthetic appeal. If they're ugly, I probably wouldn't care as much. So I have to discount that as a valid reason. The second is the reason for the hunt itself: fur. Modern technological solutions mean that animal fur is not the necessity that it was prior to the 20th century for keeping warm in sub-zero temperature. The pelts are used for one reason alone: fashion, and I equate that with testing of cosmetics on animals. As I've said, I don't have a problem with using animals for the betterment of human life. I don't think that pandering to human vanity qualifies. Perhaps if the seal cubs were being used primarily for meat, my opinion would be different, in the same way that I don't have a problem with leather, since it's a byproduct of the meat industry. However, my current understanding is that skinned seal pup corpses are simply discarded, and that strikes me as being wasteful. Even though this isn't an issue of an endangered species, it's still the end of a mammal's life, for what I consider to be a trivial reason. The third reason, and probably the key reason for me, is suffering and cruelty. There are reports of seal pups being slightly stunned rather than killed outright when they're clubbed, and then skinned, still alive, and in some cases still conscious. And that's just horrible. Again, a more humane way of minimising the animal's suffering probably wouldn't bother me so much. If what Danny Williams says in the video about using rifles to ensure a clean, quick kill is true, then I think that is preferable to the distress inflicted on these animals by chasing them across the ice and then bludgeoning them to death with a piece of wood. Although I found it ironic that after Danny Williams made the statement, the article cut to two seal hunters hefting their wooden clubs. So Justin, to recap, I think I can summarise my answer to your question as follows. I don't think that I have a problem with hunting seals in principle. I have a problem with the way that they're killed and the reason for killing them. Dispatching a seal cub cleanly from a distance with a rifle strikes me as being a more humane method than clubbing it to death. But I have to say that I do feel killing an animal just for its fur, so that it can be made into expensive coats worn by rich people, or trim on other fashionable garments and items, doesn't provide sufficient justification, in my mind, for the hunt.